This is the Crime Cafe, your podcasting source of great crime, suspense, and thriller writing. I'm your host, Debbi Mack. Before I bring on my guest, I'll just remind you that the Crime Cafe has 2 ebooks for sale, the 9-book box set and the short story anthology. You can find the buy links for both on my website, debbimack.com, DEBBIMACK.com, under the Crime Cafe link. You can also get a free copy of either book if you become a Patreon supporter. You'll get that and much more if you support the podcast on Patreon, along with our eternal gratitude for doing so. It's my great pleasure today to have James Longmore as my guest. James is not only an author, but a screenwriter and a publisher. He has written and directed short films as well, and even done stand-up comedy. So thanks for being here today, James.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. Nice to see you.
Sure thing. It's great to see you. You've done so many interesting things. Let's start with your writing, though. What do you write mostly? Is it mostly horror, or do you do other genres as well?
A lot of it seems to be horror because that's sort of where my mind sort of defaults to. But most it's dark stuff. If it's dark, whether it's crime or horror or dark romance or whatever. If it's got a dark element to it, then that's me. Dark comedy as well. I'm a big fan of dark comedy, which is something we British people do incredibly well.
I do love dark comedy, and that's pretty awesome. But let's see, you've written 5 novels, 3 novellas, and a bunch of short stories.
That apparently so, yes. That's what it says on my resume, yeah.
Are all of your novels standalones?
They are, yeah. Yeah, I envy authors who sort of write, on the plan and write a series of, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we spoke to somebody recently who's planned a series of like 10 books. I don't seem, maybe I just haven't had the idea yet that would sustain any sort of series. There's a couple of my novels I think would make a good sequel, but I just seem to like to move on to the next idea. I'm not one for rehashing, to be honest.
Interesting. Or for stretching things out.
Oh, for stretching things out, yeah. Yeah, I like it to be... It's the same reason I tend not to commit to like long TV series.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice little 10-part series or an 8-part series, that's fine, but these that go on for like 13 seasons, it's just like, no, I just can't commit to that. I get too quickly.
And they tend to kind of run out of gas after a while if they don't
They do, usually around. I mean, I remember I really got hooked on Breaking Bad, and that was just about the right length. I think that was 7, maybe 8 seasons, and that was enough. But some of them, they just go on, and it's like, you really should have stopped. Season 7, you should have quit, but they're on
exactly.
Season. I mean, obviously, as long as people are still watching it and advertisers still forking out, they'll still keep churning them out,
Exactly right. Can you tell us a little about Flanagan? What's the book about?
It's it's sort of a dark psychological. It has sort of a I don't like to use the word erotica because it's not really erotica. It's about an everyday or seemingly everyday couple who have a couple of sort of weird ways of getting their kicks, and I don't want to give too much. It has a twist that I don't want to give away because it's one that people I swear you'd never see coming in a million years. But for me, I mean, because I like dark things, I like horror. I mean, for me, one of the most horrific monsters, if you like, can be Mr. and Mrs. Joe Average. Because you never know. They could live next door, and a lot of it, you look at, serial killers and whatnot, and, the number of times, when they do catch them, the neighbours say, oh, he was ever so nice.
Yes, exactly, yes.
I mean, John Wayne Gacy, I mean, he used to do kids' parties as a clown. Ted Bundy worked on a suicide hotline. I mean, these are people who, until they're caught, you would never suspect.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes that kind of innocent demeanor can mask a really twisted soul.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, my other novels. I mean, my first novel is about killer giant centipedes, because I always wanted to write a creature novel. I'm a big fan of James Herbert. I was actually the first grown-up horror novel I ever read was James Herbert's The Rats, and I always wanted, all these years, wanted to write a creature novel, but couldn't really come up with a creature that hadn't been done or that was not lame, But then hit upon giant centipedes, which do creep me out, to be honest with you. And that sort of wrote itself. My other novel, Tenebrion, is about a demon, and so a lot of But I think for me, Flanagan is probably the most horrific, because it could happen. There's nothing demonic about them. They're not, anything other than average or seemingly average people.
Well, that's intriguing.
Mm.
What inspired you to write horror?
Oh, do you know? I think it's just the way my brain's wired. To be honest, that's the kind of person I am. I think I'm a born pessimist by nature, anyway. But it's an impossible question to answer. You can ask anybody. Ask J.K. Rowling. Why she writes. Harry Potter. I mean, anybody who writes anything. I think it's just the way the brain works. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the golden rule is write for yourself, right? What entertains you, and that's I still to this day I love horror movies, and I love reading horror books and dark and scary things, and I guess that's why I write it.
Just out of curiosity, are you a fan of corny old sci-fi movies?
Of what? Sorry.
Corny old sci-fi movies?
Do you know, I do like sci-fi, yes. Yeah, and funnily enough, I actually watched the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still a couple of weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I grew up watching. They used to be on a Saturday morning, the old B-movie sci-fi movies, and yeah, absolutely. Still, if a good sci-fi comes on, I'll always make an effort to watch it.
Or sometimes a bad sci-fi. Like
sometimes the ones where the sets are a bit wobbly and the effects are terrible. Some of those are brilliant,
like your Ed Wood stuff.
I love Ed Wood stuff. I mean, the documentary, the movie they made about Ed Wood, the one that Tim Burton made, was just brilliant. But he just didn't care. When I think it was Bela Lugosi died halfway through filming, he just replaced him with somebody. He was even shorter and looked nothing like him. And he just replaced him and carried on, and it's just like...
You do what you have to.
Fantastic, because for him, for Ed Wood, it was about the story. And all too often these days, you see, probably in sci-fi especially, they spend that much time and effort on the effects
mm-hmm.
and money on the effects that they seem to forget there's supposed to be a story as well.
And characters that you give a damn about.
Yeah. Yeah, you just get, it's just all big explosions, and it's like the Transformers movies. I've seen most of those with my kids, and I lose track of I don't care what's going on, and B, I just lose track. It's just all CGI fighting CGI, and it's just like, I don't get it.
I'd like to do a whole podcast and call it Too Much CGI and talk about movies where they do this too much.
I would agree. Yeah, it's funny. I watched the remake of The Thing. I had a bit of a... I was actually had the flu a couple of weeks back, so I watched some TV. And it wasn't... Obviously, they used CGI rather than practical effects, and it wasn't a patch on the original, which was obviously all practical. I remember seeing that when it came out of the movies, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a good idea for a podcast, yes.
Maybe I should think about that.
Do that.
You have a very interesting background. You're from Yorkshire, England, but you live in Houston, Texas now.
Yes.
What was it like moving from England to Texas?
It was a big move. It was just totally different. I mean, the heat took some getting used to. I mean, I've been here 8 years now. The heat was just... Because we moved in, it was July, and it was raining when we left Manchester Airport. And we got here sort of 8.5 hours later, and it was like we got off the plane. It was like stepping into an oven.
My
It was
gosh, I can
like,
only imagine.
wow. We suddenly, it was like 100, and that summer it got up to like 104. But it was like, high 90s, early hundreds, and it was just, we're not used to those. Brits don't get, unless you go, when you go abroad on vacation, go to like Greece or Spain or whatever. I think I went to Cyprus one year and it got up to 101. That was the hottest I've ever experienced. And that's just like, that's normal here. It's just scary.
And I can imagine culturally it's very different.
Do you know, it isn't, it isn't. I mean, it's, to be fair, it's like stepping back into 1986. England 1986. There's a lot of similarities between Yorkshire and Texas. I mean, Texas is they're very proud to be Texan. You ask somebody from Texas, where are you from? And they will say Texas. They won't say America. And it's the same with those Yorkshire people, where I'm from Yorkshire. And here, nobody knows where that is. People say, is that near London? No, it isn't. No. But yeah, culturally, there are a lot of similarities, a lot.
Interesting.
The people, the attitude of the people.
A sense of identity.
That's right, yeah.
Very cool. I have to ask you about your screenplays, since I write screenplays also, but you've had them produced. Big difference.
I've had some success, but more not produced than I have had produced. I've had commissioned ones. Obviously, I started out really just shooting my own short films. They're on my website. If anybody wants to check them out. I mean, they're not, production values not quite Hollywood standard, but again, as with Ed Wood, for me it was about showcasing the story and about me as a screenwriter. So some of the sound production is a little bit wobbly, but they're good little stories. I'm kind of proud of those. Yeah, but
I have to check them out.
Yeah, please do. I was commissioned to write. They're still looking for finance for it. Write a biopic of Bob Marley. Bob Marley's early years, from age, I think, 4 till the assassination attempt, and that was great. It was nice to get paid for I mean, I'm a bit of a Marley fan anyway, but I'm doing the research, and it was an interesting process.
Did you start off in screenplay writing? How did you make your first connections in terms of getting your screenplays produced?
Funny enough, so when I got to Houston, because I've been doing stand-up comedy over in England, I sort of got myself on the stand-up circuit here in Houston. Well, there used to be one 8 years ago. Now, I think there's one club now. I think that's all there is left now. And there's a lot of people that I'd actually met a couple of guys who would make the short films. They got involved in, they'd have like these film race competitions where you had to make a 10-minute film in a weekend, that sort of thing. And it really just developed from there. I sort of made connections and networked, and a few people I know that I did work with in the past, they're over in LA now, so I have connections over there. And it was literally it spread from there.
Well, that's very cool. It just goes to show you never know where you're going to meet people who are going to help you out with this sort of stuff.
That's true. Yeah, I'm a big fan of networking. It's it can be hard work sometimes, because you get people who you get your time wasters and people who promise the earth and deliver nothing. But there's the good people there as well. Yes,
absolutely. That is absolutely true. And what made you decide to start a publishing company?
Do it was almost by accident, to tell you the truth. It was I'd had one of my first novels, The Erotic Odyssey of Colton Forshey, which is a bizarro novel. I had that picked up by a publisher, and I think within a month of that being published, the publisher went under. And I sort of was still involved. The lady that took it over, I was sort of trying to help her out and make something of the mess that had been left behind. Because obviously my baby was in there,
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Long story short, that sort of went a little bit south, but I sort of, got a feel for it by then. And a couple of people said, well, you should think about doing it yourself. I did, which I did, and that was 2 years ago now, and Hellbound Books is doing pretty well.
Excellent. Do you publish other authors?
Oh, yeah. Most of my books are not published under Hellbound. I didn't start it to publish my own books. I've got Son of Colton is still there. That carried through. He's still with Hellbound. My novels are with different publishers.
Okay.
So no, we have over 80 titles now, and barring
That's
a couple,
fantastic.
barring a couple, they're all other authors. We're attracting some really good talent now.
That's excellent. Way to go. What's your favorite thing to do in your free time, when you have any?
Free time. I don't have an awful lot of free time, to be honest. I tend to work. I like to read. I like my best sort of unwinding, brain in neutral time is just watching TV. That's the one thing. Plug me in front of the TV and my brain will just. Other than that, it's always going. But it's just like literally kicking it into neutral and just let the TV entertain me. And I can watch anything. I have children. My youngest is she's nearly 10 actually. She's 9. So I watch everything from Disney movies, Pixar movies, SpongeBob. Big SpongeBob fan. Even now it's funny. I will be sat and I'm sat watching SpongeBob, and especially if it's a new one. And then I'll notice that my daughter, she's gone. She's wandered off to do something else, and I'm sat watching SpongeBob. But that's good brain downtime for me. I do like to read when I can, but because I spend most of my time reading, if I'm not writing, I'm either reading submissions or editing or what have you. I kind of don't seem to have the time to read for pleasure anymore. And I do miss that. I do miss that, unfortunately.
Yes. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish up?
Buy our books. Check out my website is jameslongmore.com. Hellboundbookspublishing.com is the publisher. On my website, there's all my short films, and a couple of my stand-up appearances are on there as well for anybody who wants a laugh. And yeah, Flanagan is an awesome. But again, we said Flanagan is one that we have within Hellbound. Again, long story short, it was with another publisher and they didn't do right by it, so I took it back. I thought it's too good just for them to do nothing with it. So that is back. That was in the fold, and it's great. I mean, we have. So if you can guess the twist, then we'll give you your money back.
Wow.
There's a challenge for you. There's a challenge for you.
That is quite the statement, quite the recommendation.
We'll stand by it. If you can guess, you get your money back.
Wow, that's something else. Well, I want to thank you for being here, James. Thanks so much. It was
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure thing. And before we go, I'll just ask everyone out there listening to please leave a review for the podcast, wherever you're listening to it. Reviews really help keep the program going and help us to stand out so that others can find us. And please go to debbimack.com and check out where you can subscribe to the podcast, as well as the Crime Cafe box set and short story anthology. And in addition to that, we have a Patreon page. And if you contribute as little as the price of a cup of coffee a month, you can get access to early drafts of work that I have coming out soon, as well as short stories that are not available anywhere else. So check that out. And just so you know, our next guest is going to be Ellen Kirschman, who had to reschedule. So we'll be back next week instead of in 2 weeks. And with that, I'll just thank you for listening and say happy reading.